Good evening. I want to call to order the Thousand Oaks City Council meeting for Tuesday, November 13th, 2018. If you'd all please stand. Before we pledge allegiance to our flag, I'm going to ask the community and those at home to take a moment of silence. Over the past week, our city has experienced two significant tragedies. Tonight, we'll be standing for a moment of silence for the victims of the borderline shooting, and yes, even for the assailant who at one point in his life served our country, the United States Marine, and certainly for his family. We've done a number of moments of silence since I've been on the council, certainly for 9/11, prominent city employees who have passed away, but none, I would say, has been more personal for this community than this moment of silence to remember those victims and their families who suffered the effects of the borderline shooting. I would also point out that council is wearing yellow ribbon or orange ribbons tonight with our city pin. The color orange is a symbol of both strength and endurance, and that is what exactly this community has demonstrated over the past week. Not just for the shooting victims and their families, but for people that have been affected by a firestorm that also unprecedented in our history. With the crisis and suffering also comes the opportunity for compassion and generosity. And on behalf of the council, let me just say thank you to the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in this community who have truly loved their neighbor. They've come through in an unbelievable fashion, both in their donations for the families, lining up to give blood, and simply showing up for their neighbor. So on behalf of all of us, city staff and the council, let me just say thank you to our community for showing up, for stepping up and helping your neighbor. And with that, we'll start our Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing in honor of those victims of the borderline shooting. Thank you. Ms. Rodriguez, could you call the roll for tonight's meeting, please?
Councilmember Bill De La Pena.
Present.
Councilmember Price.
Here.
Councilmember Adam.
Here.
Councilmember McCoy.
Present.
Mayor Fox.
And I am here. Item 4 is request for continuance of any public hearing or agenda item. Are there any requests for any items to be continued? Hearing none, we'll move to item 5, that's special presentations. And give me a moment, I'll go down to the lectern. Tonight, while there was certainly a solemn dedication because of the events of the past week, I want to also tell you that tonight is a sense of celebration because we are honoring a man who has served this community for 55 years. First as a city council member and mayor, and later as a board member for many mansions, the Ventura County Grand Jury. Tonight we celebrate the 90th birthday of truly one of our city fathers. He's the oldest recognized mayor in our city's, living mayor in our city's history. I'm hoping that I can break that record, just so we know personally. And of course, I'm talking about Dick Hoos. Dick moved to Thousand Oaks in 1962 with his wife Doris. After completing his tour of duty with the United States Army, together they raised 5 children in this city and quickly became involved in city government, winning election to the city council in 1966 and serving as mayor from 69 to 1970. After his retirement, Dick has continued to be involved in this community, contributing his expertise and vision for our city as a participant in the Thousand Oaks Visioning 2064, which created a blueprint for the future priorities of our city. Dick, on behalf of all of us and really a grateful community, I just want to say thank you for your years of service, your class. You've always represented yourself as a true gentleman, one of civility, one of respect. Each and every time you come to the city council, you demonstrate for us what a former elected official should be. And I know I speak for all of us in the community and your hundreds of friends. We want to just say thank you, happy birthday, and many, many more.
Oh my, it is a special evening, very special evening. I've waited 90 years for this evening. And my years with the on the council were very interesting, very exciting, and very humbling. We have a great bunch of people in our city who constantly work to make it better. And especially the council folks who, over the years, somehow sort it all out and keep it going in the right direction. I thank you all very, very much for the recognition this evening. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks again.
I rarely do this, but I'm going to read the entire resolution. This is a commendation in honor of Richard D. Hoos. Whereas Richard Hoos, known as Dick Hoos, was born on October 17th, 1928, celebrating his 90th birthday. And whereas Dick is the oldest living Thousand Oaks mayor. And whereas Dick served as a Thousand Oaks City Council member from 1966 to 1970 and as mayor from 1969 to 1970. And whereas Dick and his wife Doris enjoyed 57 years of marriage and have 5 children, 11 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandchildren. And whereas Dick completed his tour of duty in the United States Army and then relocated to Southern California, moving to Thousand Oaks in 1962, where the family raised their 5 children. And whereas Dick and Doris enjoyed traveling all over the world, and Dick has been a resident of the community for 55 years, where he made many wonderful contributions, including serving on the Ventura County Civil Grand Jury and the board of many mansions. And whereas Dick continues to bring joy to the lives of his family, friends, and all who know him. Now, therefore, I, Andrew P. Fox, Mayor of the City of Thousand Oaks, on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby commend Richard D. Hoos and offer our heartfelt and best wishes on the occasion of his 90th birthday. Signed, Andrew P. Fox, Mayor, City of Thousand Oaks.
I think I better not try that.
Okay. Turn around, I'll hold it. Let's take a picture. Got to take it with you, that's the rule. Okay. All right, buddy. Ms. Rodriguez, could you call item 6 for public comment, please?
This is a time and place for public comments. A speaker card is available for those wishing to address the City Council regarding items on the agenda or on a subject within the city's jurisdiction. Speakers for public hearing items shall be called and heard during the public hearing. All remarks should be addressed to the council as a whole, and all documents for City Council and the official record should be presented to the city clerk prior to speaking. Speakers are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Under state law, public comment matters may not be considered by the council unless listed on the agenda, but may be referred to the city manager for administrative follow-up. 2 individuals have presented cards, and pursuant to council standards, speakers are allowed 3 minutes. The yellow light displays when you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Our first speaker is Tom Hunt, followed by Sean Meridian.
Good evening, Mayor Fox and City Council. I wanted to give a note of gratitude to all of the board members, or all the council members. I moved here in 1969 from Michigan. That's almost 50 years ago. And I've been in communication with a lot of my people back east. I've been getting emails from them and phone calls. And I can tell you, I've never been more proud of a city council than I have of you guys and ladies. The impression that you've made to people across the country under such a horrible circumstance has been, I think, monumental. And they say all things work together for the good of those that love the Lord. Well, I'll tell you something. There's a lot of good that's going to come out of this, and we just have to look for it. But I already seen what's taken place. And your response and the teams with the fire department and the police department has been unbelievable. And I look at these firemen out there fighting the fire, and my heart goes out to them. And we can't do enough for them, I know that. One other thing I'd like to say, there's a gentleman sitting over there by the name of Joel Price, and I'm sad to see him leave. I think he's done a great job, and I voted for him. Maybe that was a misnomer. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe you would have won. But anyway, I want to thank you, Joel. I think you've done a great job. And I've tried to follow this council for the past few years. And I'll say it again. I've never been more proud of you. But I'd like to take one opportunity to say a little thing I saw today coming down from Lynn Road. I saw our city sweeper out there sweeping the streets. And it was sort of like shooting a spitball at a battleship trying to sink it. I thought it was a little waste of time. So I think the next time we have a breeze like this, we ought to hold back and not let that guy go out there and sweep the streets. Anyway, thank you so much, guys. We really love and appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. Sean Meridian.
Good evening, Mayor Fox, City Council members. My name is Sean Muradian. I'm a lifelong resident of Thousand Oaks, and I'm also the president of the Thousand Oaks Boulevard Association. I came this evening really to say thank you to the City Council and to our first responders and Chief Hagel for really an unprecedented response this week to all the events that have taken place. And on behalf of our association and our board of directors, to extend our condolences to the families of everybody that were lost at the shooting and anybody that was affected by the fire. We are definitely committed to standing with our fellow residents any way we can, both financially and with other kinds of services. Our board and our members, have contractors, we have lawyers, we have all kinds of professionals that have been reaching out to us, offering ways that they can help fellow community members. So we want to just put that out there. Any way we can be of service to the council or staff or any other organization to help out during this time of need, we want to make sure we can make those services available and definitely do everything we can for this community because we love it very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That concludes our public comment. We'll move to item 7. That's a consent calendar. Any items council would like to call special? All right, hearing none, we need a motion on the consent calendar. Mr. Price.
I would move the consent calendar.
All right, Mr. Price moves item 7.
Mayor Fox, I'm sorry. I need to pull item 7K.
7K.
Sorry about
All right,
that.
no problem. Mr. Price, you want to move all the items 7K?
Yes, I would move the balance of the consent calendar.
All right. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, prepare the vote, please.
The motion carries 5-0.
That is approved. Ms. Bill DePena, item 7K.
Yes, I just realized there were two other items that I should have pulled, but that's okay. I, J, and K indeed. So simply because I wasn't present, I will abstain. So it's 7K.
Right. Without objection, prepare the vote, please.
That motion carries 4-0 with Councilmember Bill De La Pena abstaining.
Right.
And I do have 3 ordinance titles to read into the record. Ordinance amending the Thousand Oaks Municipal Code, repealing in its entirety Title 4, Chapter 2, and adding Title 4, Chapter 2, adopting licensing and operating regulations for taxi cabs. Ordinance number 1653 NS. Ordinance adjusting and setting rates and fees of the City Water Division uncodified, ordinance number 1654 NS, and ordinance adjusting and setting rates, fees, and discharge limits of the City Wastewater Division uncodified, ordinance number 1655 NS.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll move to item 8. That's our public hearing for tonight. Item 8A. Madam Clerk, could you call 8A for public hearing, please?
Hearing advertised as required by law is open to consider agenda item 8A regarding adoption of Title 10 of Los Angeles County Code with amendments and fee resolutions as it relates to animal control services, MCA 2018-70107. And at this time, Mayor, we do not have any speakers.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Mr. Ware, are you going to handle the report?
Yes, I am.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Tonight before you is MCA 2018-70107 relating to animal control regulations and fees. Tonight's request is to adopt the fee resolution and also introduce the ordinance. The city first contracted with the County of Los Angeles for animal control services through the Department of Animal Care and Control in 1992. As part of that contract, we adopt Title 10 of the Los Angeles County Code that acts as the city's animal control regulations. The City Council has approved 2 amendments to Title 10 over the years. One was in 2001 relating to animal noise nuisances, and also in 2012 we did a bigger update of Title 10. The changes proposed tonight in this amendment is to adopt a new version of Title 10. Some of the changes that are in the new versions of Title 10 is the introduction of administrative penalties, which allows animal care and control officers to go out and cite administratively for administrative fines instead of doing criminal prosecutions for certain types of violations, including dog licensing, dogs off leash, and things such as that. In past versions of Title 10, the City Council had adopted amendments for animal noise nuisances. The new Title 10 language for animal noise nuisances is now deemed adequate, so we are actually removing and repealing our amendment to that particular section. Also, in the past, the City Council has adopted an amendment to not require microchipping of dogs and cats, which Title 10 does require. This amendment, we are recommending a hybrid version of that, where new dog licenses would be required to be microchipped and renewals would not. This does not apply to cats, as the city does not require cat licensing within our jurisdiction, but also it's always recommended that voluntarily people do that for just the purposes of tracking. In the fee resolution issue, we're recommending the adoption of new fees for animal control services. There is no change to individual pet licensing, so there would be no change for those people getting license or license renewals every year. We are recommending modification to fees for business permits, such as facility licensing, and animal exhibitions, such as rodeos and things like that, where you have animals being exhibited for the purposes of carnivals or other types of events. Again, tonight's request is to adopt the resolution for fees and introduce the ordinance. I'm available for questions, and also today in the gallery here, we have Harold Holmes, Executive Assistant for the Department of Animal Care and Control, and Denise Rosen, who is our Shelter Manager at the Orgura Animal Care Center.
Thank you, Mr. Ware. Questions for staff? All right, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. We had no speaker cards in this item, and we will entertain a motion. Mr. Adam.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll move 8A.
Mr. Adam moves 8A. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, prepare the vote, please.
The motion carries 5-0, and I do have an ordinance title to read into the record. Ordinance amending Section 6-1.100, 6-1.106, 6-1107, 6-1109, and repealing in its entirety Section 6-11.05 of the Municipal Code of the City of Thousand Oaks regarding the adoption of Title 10 of the Los Angeles County Code with associated local amendments as it relates to animal regulations, MCA 2018-70107.
All right. We'll move to item 8B. That's our second public hearing tonight. Madam Clerk, could you call item 8B for public hearing, please?
Right. Hearing advertised as required by law is open to consider agenda item 8B regarding municipal code amendment regarding licensing and operating regulations for vending on public property. A speaker card is available for those wishing to address the City Council regarding this public hearing, and we currently do not have any public speakers.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Emma or Melissa, which one of you is doing the report? I'm not sure.
Emma Mossbergen will be presenting tonight.
Very good. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Fox and council members. I am here alongside Melissa Hurtado, Revenue Operations Manager, and Felicia Lieberman, Assistant City Attorney. Jeff Ware, Code Compliance Manager, is also available in the audience. We are here tonight to discuss an amendment to the city's street vendor ordinance. Since 1993, the city has maintained an ordinance which permits vendors to sell food or goods from motorized vehicles on city streets. The current ordinance does not allow for vending from carts or non-motorized vehicles on sidewalks. Applicants for street vendor permits must undergo a criminal background check, provide liability and auto insurance, and food vendors must also provide proof of a valid health permit from the County of Ventura Environmental Health Division. Earlier this year, state legislation was introduced which would require cities to allow for vending on public sidewalks. The bill was passed, signed into law on September 17th, and goes into effect on January 1st. The new law limits what cities can regulate. Cities cannot impose a limitation on the number of vendors, restrict vendors to certain areas of the city, nor prohibit vending in city-owned parks, although special districts such as CRPD are exempt. In commercial areas, cities cannot impose restrictions on hours beyond what is allowed for other businesses on the same street. And the law prohibits cities from requiring permission from any non-governmental entity, such as storefront business owners, to operate at a specific location. Some of the items that cities can regulate and that are included in the proposed ordinance are imposing restrictions on hours of operation in residential neighborhoods. Hours are limited to 9 to 5 Pacific Standard Time and 9 to 7 Pacific Daylight Time. Cities can also require proof of a valid seller's permit from the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration and a county health permit if selling food. Cities can impose additional regulations if directly related to objective health, safety, or welfare concerns. Some of the health, safety, and welfare-related regulations that are incorporated in the proposed ordinance include requiring a criminal background check, liability insurance, and compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act to ensure vendor operations do not impede wheelchair access nor pedestrian passage. Additionally, a prohibition on vending within 500 feet of a public school during regular school hours and city-permitted events, such as street fairs, is incorporated. And sanitation requirements are also imposed to ensure vendors maintain a clean vending area. Under the proposed ordinance, vendors seeking a permit would submit an application and fingerprints to have a background check performed by the Thousand Oaks Police Department. Once approved, the Finance Department would request the insurance documents, seller's permit, and health permit, if applicable, of the company. Finance would subsequently collect business tax and fees, and the vendor would then be issued a photo ID badge to be displayed while vending, along with a decal to be placed on the vendor's cart. Staff is requesting your consideration of this ordinance, and we are available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Mr. Adam.
Thank you, Mayor. So you mentioned Caneo Rec and Park District would be exempt. So does that mean that in our 38 parks, the district could ban vendors?
Yes, since special districts are explicitly exempt in this ordinance, they can continue to ban vendors in their parks.
Okay, all right. And is there a difference between, I noticed there were two terms in the report, street vendor and sidewalk vendor. Is there a difference between a street vendor and a sidewalk vendor?
Yes, the street vendors are on public streets. Think of more of a food truck. Sidewalk vendor is either roaming with a push cart or on sidewalks.
Got it. Okay, I see the differentiation. Food truck versus someone pushing a cart on the sidewalk.
Yes.
Got it. Thanks.
Mr. Price.
Thank you. My question involves regulation because there will be violations. We know there will be, and there will be violations that we don't know about. This is clearly government overreach at its best and preemption of local authority here. But what, if anything, do we plan on doing in terms of regulating this, for not just for the permit, but for the applicable license fees?
So are you specifically asking for unlicensed vendors that we may find in the area? And I think Mr. Hagel, if you're available to help answer that question. TOPD and our code compliance division already regulates street vendors. So the trucks, on the city streets, if they're not licensed, they go and basically shut them down, send them to our office to obtain the proper permits. And I don't think that will be any different for the sidewalk vendors.
Yeah, no, I know that that's probably what we do or what we can do in practice, but I don't think it's necessarily what we do in theory. I don't know that there's a tremendous amount of regulation that goes into these, and that's one of the reasons that, I think that this one-size-fits-all bill really damages cities. But nonetheless, I recognize that what we're doing here tonight is trying to make our ordinance conform with new state law. So do you have any response to that, either code compliance or police chief?
Having spoken to other states and other organizations that had to deal with this transition, what we're anticipating is that a transition period of some enforcement complications. Residents not used to seeing this are familiar as we meet the mandates that are being pushed down by the state. So we're fully anticipating there'll be some interesting situations, and we know that we're anticipating that we'll be getting calls to check permits, and we're aware of that and prepared for it. And other cities have reported that it really takes the community time, weeks, months, if not a year or two, to adjust that it is a legalized operation.
Yeah, I can just remember back in the city of Los Angeles when I once worked there, we had vendor wars that they get in battles about territories.
That person's permit expired.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Thank you.
Yep.
So just to kind of carry on what Mr. Price was talking about, I think you're a good chief, but recognizing it, this is a issue the state is passing down, and in their infinite wisdom, they figured that having kind of a blanket approach was the right thing to do. I too am concerned that we're regulating this as much as we are able to. Notwithstanding, I have to say, one of the best hot dogs I've ever had is a street vendor outside Fenway Park. Okay, so this is not a shot at street vendors. That was a good hot dog. Nevertheless, Mr. Price points out, those of us who worked in the city have gone to a lot of assaults between street vendors. It can get bad. I doubt that would likely happen in Thousand Oaks, but at the same time, we're talking about doing some pretty exciting things along the boulevard, and it could become a very target-rich environment for that type of activity. And I think while it was great at Fenway, there's a time and place for everything, and I'm not sure that Thousand Oaks is poised for that type of activity. So I just want to make sure that we're leaning forward with as restrictive as regulations as we could possibly can, provided this, within the context of the state, to make sure that when we get to the complaints, and we will, that we can at least look folks in the eye and tell them we're doing the best we can.
And I can
I
can confidently say that we picked through the law with a fine-tooth comb and really looked for ways that we could regulate to the best of our ability while continuing to follow the law.
Okay. All right. Very good. Any other questions for staff? All right. We have no speaker cards on this. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing, and Chair will entertain a motion. Mr. Adam.
Thank you, Mayor Fox. Reluctantly, I will move 8B, just another case of the state knowing better than the local municipalities on how to operate their cities. And you may want to try Smiley's Hot Dogs on Townsgate. Sabrett Dogs, quite good. All right. Anyway, move 8B.
Okay, I have a comment on the motion. Anybody that would compare Smiley's hot dogs, with all due respect, to a hot dog outside Fenway Park.
So now the war begins.
Clearly not a baseball fan. Not a baseball fan, right.
Mayor.
Okay.
May I remind you, buy local.
Right. I'm all for it.
Okay.
All right.
This is what I meant by vendor wars, right here.
Vendor wars, and we haven't even approved the motion.
Any further comment on the motion? All right, hearing none, Madam Clerk, prepare the vote, please. Oh, Ms. Bill De La Pena, do you have a favorite hot dog?
Not really, no.
Okay.
I just echo the statements already made, namely that the state of California, Sacramento, trying to usurp local control. It is an issue that we've had and still have with housing, and now it's over hot dogs. So, and beyond. So, no, I will support the motion reluctantly.
All right. Any further comment on the motion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, prepare the vote, please.
The motion carries 5-0, and I have an ordinance title, Ordinance amending the Thousand Oaks Municipal Code, repealing in its entirety Title 5, Chapter 23, and adding Title 5, Chapter 23, adopting licensing and operating regulations for vending on public property, and amending Section 4-3.415, modifying regulations concerning commercial vending vehicles near schools.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. That concludes our public hearings for tonight. We're going to move to the balance of the agenda. Item 9, department reports. We have none. No committee reports. No council other items. Any follow-up from meetings or conferences for the council? Hearing none. We'll move to item 13. It's the city manager's report. Mr. Powers.
Thanks, Mayor Fox. Our next regularly scheduled city council meeting will be on Tuesday, the 27th of November. We currently have a couple of items planned. The first is an update to our smoking ordinance as a public hearing. And then we have an update department report on our community grant program. As I mentioned earlier in the previous special meeting, we anticipate having at least some actions regarding the our fire recovery efforts that we'll need to bring forward that night. Obviously, the first of what will likely be a series of updates and actions that the council will need to take as we move forward into recovery as a community. I would just like to announce we've been pushing it out on social media and otherwise, but in conjunction with the County of Ventura, tomorrow night we will be hosting a town hall focused for those that experienced loss, whether you lost your home or had damage to your home, a town hall that will help provide you with some information and resources on an initial basis. We'll have representatives from throughout the various county organizations and the City of Thousand Oaks team. We'll also have an opportunity to ask some questions. We'll have cards available, and then we'll have a breakout portion in the lobby at the end to ask individualized questions. This is a forum that is open to residents of the City of Thousand Oaks that experienced the loss of their home or damage to their home, as well as residents in county unincorporated areas like Oak Park. So we welcome both those. We're doing this in conjunction with the county to try to be efficient and responsive. It's very soon after. We still have active fire in the area, but given the challenges with rebuilding and the long road ahead, we didn't want to waste any time, and we wanted to get out in front because we know property owners are going to be making a lot of decisions here very, very soon.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. I'm going to take the opportunity under the city manager's report just to thank and let the community know, thank the city staff and particularly the executive team, but all the city employees over the course of the last week. What residents likely are not aware of is while city operations continued as best we could, the city opened up the Emergency Operations Center. And that center is staffed by many of the same people you see here tonight doing their day job, if you will. And Emergency Operations Center is critical to every city, and that information is disseminated out to the community. So things like road closures, evacuations, a variety of emergency messages are disseminated and coordinated through the Emergency Operations Center. So as an example, while Ms. Noonan might be up here giving legal advice Monday through Friday, in the event of emergency, Ms. Noonan is at the Emergency Operations Center, not necessarily applying her legal expertise, but acting in her capacity as a member of the Emergency Operations Center. Same with all the city employees. I can tell you that for a couple of days, they likely got no sleep, never went home, never went to bed, probably extended from that. And so I just want all the residents of Thousand Oaks to recognize that our city employees, our executive team, they too stepped up. I often hear people make the statement that government should run like a business. And as I pointed out, under certain circumstances or similar circumstances, the business would close. They would be closed. Not in the city of Thousand Oaks and really any municipal government. Not only are they open, they're open 24 hours. And they're taking a variety of inputs and interest, everything from next of kin notification, that Chief Hagel was part of, all the way to school closures and a variety of things. So again, on behalf of our council and the community, I want to thank you, Mr. Powers, and the entire executive team. I also have to say, I know it's been said many, many times, but we are in particular appreciative of our public safety personnel. Chief Spikerman's not here tonight. No surprise. He's our fire chief. He's been a pretty busy guy over the last week. Chief Hagel is here, but if the community had any idea Chief Hagel's schedule of the past week, you probably nominate him for some kind of sainthood, because this man has worked tirelessly, not just running the police department, but in assisting the victims of the borderline incident. Even as we speak, our first responders are out there keeping our city safe, working very long hours, in some cases working in very, very dangerous circumstances. So again, on behalf of the council, we're going to extend our thanks and our appreciation and our prayers to our police officers and our firefighters, and thanks to the other agencies that came in and helped protect this city from LA City, from LA County, and really from all over the state. They came in, and this firestorm was really unprecedented. So, yeah, give them a round of applause. We do have a closed session tonight. Ms. Noonan will adjourn us into the closed session, and then I have two adjournments in memory.
Thank you, Mayor Fox. We have one closed session matter. It's existing litigation on operating engineers versus City of Thousand Oaks, case number 56-2017, 00504680, pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9A. It is unlikely I'll have anything to report.
Tonight, we're making two adjournments. Our first adjournment will be a retired city employee, Betty Hansen Lindsay. Betty was born in Vancouver, Washington, attended San Fernando High School, and obtained a degree from Moorpark College. Betty was a member of the Thousand Oaks City family, having worked as an employee for 25 years. Betty retired in 1992 as the first female inspector from the Building and Safety Department. She was always recognized as an asset to the entire city organization throughout her tenure, and for easygoing style, positive attitude, and great dedication for work and colleagues. Betty was an award-winning quilter, wife of mother of three. She was also mom to many, ready to listen and comfort those whose lives she touched. Betty will be greatly missed by her family and her many friends and her city colleagues. Tonight, we're also adjourning in memory of the victims of the borderline shooting. Our thoughts and prayers go to all those lost souls and to their families. In particular, I'd like to read the names of the victims: Ron Heelis, Cody Kaufman, Elena Housley, Justin Meek, Sean Adler, Blake Dingman, Noel Sparks, Daniel Manraki, Tel Orfunas, Christina Morisset, Jake Dunham, and Mark Meza. May they rest in peace. And with that, we are adjourned to our regularly scheduled council meeting for Tuesday, November 27, 2018.